Hello, fifth and sixth graders. It's time for our English lesson for this week, which is dealing with main verbs and also with helping verbs. But we're going to kind of review action verbs and linking verbs first before we start looking at the main and helping verbs, which is what our main lesson really is going to be talking about for this particular lesson. All right, so there are many different types of verbs. We've already talked about some verbs already so far this year in the classroom. Some of them are going to show action, and we would call those action verbs. And some of the verbs don't show any action at all, and we call those linking verbs. So when we look at an action verb, basically it is exactly what the word mentions. An action verb is going to show some sort of action. The key, though, is being able to identify the subject. Because once you can identify what or who the sentence is about, then you can determine, is that person or is that thing doing some sort of action? Because it mentions here, it tells what the subject of the sentence actually does. So here's a couple of small examples of action verbs where it's important to find the subject first before you start going in the other direction, figure out what type of verb it is. So my first sentence here would be, Bill hit the ball. Now, in this sentence, there are only two things that the subject could be. The subject could either be the word Bill, or the subject could be ball. So who or what is this sentence really talking about? And if you look at it real closely, you'll notice that the sentence is talking about Bill. Although there is a ball, that the Bill is doing something to the ball, the sentence itself is not about the ball. The sentence is about Bill. So Bill would be our subject. Now, is Bill doing something in this particular sentence? And we would say, yes, Bill is hitting the ball. He's hitting. He's going to hit the ball. So this word is an action. So this would just be a regular action word by itself. Next sentence would be the cat purred softly. Again, what's the subject of the sentence? Who or what is the sentence about? It's about the cat. Did the cat do something? Yes, the cat purred. Purred is an action. So cat is subject. Purred is the action. My next sentence, I walk to school. This sentence is about I, the person who's referencing in the sentence. And am I doing something in the sentence? Yes, I'm walking. So I walk. Walk is the verb, subject verb. Our last sentence here, Susan spoke to me. This sentence is talking about Susan. Susan's the one who's doing something. And what is it that she did? She spoke. So subject is Susan, verb is spoke. All of these are examples of sentences that just have action verbs only. Now, a linking verb, what that does is it links or it connects some word back to the subject. This is not going to show any action whatsoever. It's going to link either an adjective back to subject, or it's going to link a noun back to the subject. Here's some examples. Well, here's some common linking verbs, I should say. You've seen these before. The word am, is, are, was, were, be, been, seems, feels, tastes. We covered these words when we looked at our linking verb units earlier this year. But later on in this lesson, we're going to see how sometimes linking verbs can actually be used to help a main verb. If there is no main verb with it, then they're going to be linking verbs. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I come up to it a little bit later in the lesson. So here are some sentences. First sentence is, we are hungry. Who or what are we talking about in the sentence? We're talking about the word we. Are we doing anything in the sentence? Some people might say, well, we're hungry. But hungry is not an action. Hungry is a describer. So this is an adjective. And the word are is telling us that the word hungry is describing we. So the word are is a linking verb because it's hungry is describing back to what we are. He was late to school. He is the subject. Is he doing anything in the sentence? Well, there's no action, but the word late, which is a describer, is describing he. He was late. So this is a linking verb describing the word late back to he. The winner is Johnny. Who's the sentence talking about? Well, some people might think that Johnny is actually the subject, but actually the subject is winner. And the word Johnny is linking back to the word winner because Johnny and winner are the same person. So this linking verb is linking these two words together. And the last one here, the rose smells good. The rose is the subject of the sentence. Now, It's physically impossible for the rose to smell. It does not have a nose. It cannot smell. But in this sentence, the word smells is a linking verb because the word good, which is an adjective, is describing the rose. So smells would be a linking verb. So all of these are being used as linking verbs in the sentence. Now, our main thing that we're talking about for today is we're going to talk about main verbs and helping verbs. And a helping verb usually helps a main verb make sense in the sentence. And there's a key that I want you to remember for this particular unit. A helping verb is always going to come sometime before the main verb. So when we do verb phrases, which is what we're going to be talking about this particular week. Oops, so go backward. I went backwards on accident. You will see that the helping verbs will always come before the main verbs. And that's important because the main verb is always going to be that action. There could be some helping or help verb or verbs in front to help us out. Don't worry, we're going to go through some examples of what I'm talking about here. Actually, we're going to go through quite a few in our lesson for today. So here is some examples where, again, first thing I want to do is really identify the subject. I am eating my lunch. This sentence is talking about I. Am I doing something in this sentence? Yes, I eating. Now, it wouldn't make sense for me to say I eating. I need to have something in front of this main verb in order for this verb phrase to make sense. So rather than it being I eating my lunch, it's going to be I am eating my lunch. And so in this particular sentence, the verb is actually 2 words long. There is a helping verb, and then there is a main verb. And students, for this unit, your main verb most of the time is going to be some sort of action. You'll notice that the word am, if there was no action here, then the word am would be a linking verb. But because there's an action here, it's no longer being used as a linking verb. It's actually being used as a helping verb. Here's the next sentence. Ed has taken the test. The subject is all about Ed. Is Ed doing something in the sentence? Well, Ed taken. Ed taken. Does that make sense? Ed taking the test? No. So I would need some sort of helping verb out in front. That's where this word has comes into play. So Ed has taken the test. Has taken. Has is the helping verb, and the word taken is the main verb. We were talking. That's it. That's the sentence. We were talking. Subject's about we. What are we doing? We talking. Would that make sense just to say, hey, we talking? No, you would need some sort of helping verb to help this main verb along. So you would say we were talking. So again, the word were is a helping verb. Talking is the main verb. So if you ever have this in this particular week, this week, students, where you're trying to find a verb phrase, because that's what these are called. These are called verb phrases. The helping verb will always be somewhere before the main verb. Once you locate the main verb, you will never have a helping verb behind it. Notice in these 3 examples here, the main verb is the last word in the sentence. The helping verb is out front. And you're going to see that a lot with your with your sentences this week. All right, now it's going to be practice time. So we're got a number of sentences here, and I want to see if we can identify the verb. They might just be an action verb only, they might just be a linking verb only, or they might be both, a helping and a main verb. So let's see if we can figure the difference between them. All right, so we're ready? How about we get started with our first sentence? They are watching television. They are watching television. Now, if you look at the sentence, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what's the subject? Who or what is this sentence about? And I hope you can figure out that the word they is the subject, because this is who the sentence is about. It's about they. Now, are they doing something in this sentence? No, they're watching. They're watching. This sounds like some sort of action. But does it make sense to say the words, they watching television? No, it sounds like I need some sort of word to help the verb. So if I were to ask you what is the verb in this sentence, I would hope that you would tell me that the verb is are watching. They is the subject, are watching. And since it's 2 words like this would be an example of a verb phrase. Now, which one's the helping verb and which one's the main verb? Okay, so the helping verb would be always the first word that comes in. The word are is the helping verb. The main verb is the word watching. That's going to be the last word of your verb phrase. So if I ask you, what is the verb phrase in the sentence? I hope you would tell me, are watching. And if I ask you, what's the helping verb? You'd say, are. If I ask you, what's the main verb? You'd say, watching. Here's another sentence. Frank was tired after work. All right, so again, first thing we want to do, identify the subject. Subject is Frank. That's what this sentence is about. Is Frank doing some sort of action in this sentence? Now, some people might be tempted to think, yeah, he's tired. But is tired an action? Because you have to understand, there's a difference between an action and a describer. Would we say that tired is an action, or is tired a describer? I hope now that you had a chance to think about that, you would say, well, actually, Mr. Johnson, that's more of a describing word. And I would agree. This is a describer, which means tired is not a verb. So this sounds to me like this word tired is describing Frank. So it sounds like it's describing back to the subject. Then that should tell us then that the verb is the word was. This word was only by itself is the word was is the verb. And since it's linking a word back to the subject, then we would say that the word was, that's a linking verb. Okay, so be careful. Some people might be tempted to think, oh, the verb phrase is was tired. But remember, tired is not an action. It's a describer. Sometimes the book will kind of throw those at you to see if you're paying attention to the difference between a describer and an action. Here's another sentence. My dad drove his car to the store. Again, who or what are we talking about in the sentence? That's the first thing we should do with our sentences, figure out the subject. I'm hoping by reading this, you're going to realize that the subject is dad. We're talking about dad. Now, did dad do something in the sentence? Oh, yeah, he drove. Dad drove. Sounds like a good verb to me, and the word drove is an action. So we would say that the verb in this sentence is just the word drove. And what type of verb is it? It's an action verb. There's no helping verb needed in this particular sentence. Dad drove. That's the sentence. Finding Nemo is her favorite movie. Again, who or what are we talking about in this sentence? You might be tempted to think, well, we're talking about her. No, we're actually talking about Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is what we're talking about in this sentence. So the subject of the sentence is Finding Nemo. Now, is Finding Nemo doing anything? Is that doing some sort of action in the sentence? I hope you're noticing that. No, there is no action. But the word movie, it looks to me that this word movie is describing back to Finding Nemo. The word movie and Finding Nemo are the same thing. So that probably tells me then that somewhere in my sentence, I probably have a linking verb. And if you look close enough, the verb would actually be the word is. And since the word movie is linking back to Nemo, we would say that the word is just a linking verb. Okay? All right. I did my homework right after school. Who or what are we talking about in this sentence? Oh, we're talking about I. I am the one that we're talking about in this sentence. I. Now, am I doing some sort of action in the sentence? Well, yeah, I did. Some people might say I did my homework, but the word homework is a noun. That's not an action at all. So I did. So in this sentence, the verb is just the word did all by itself. That's it, did. And the word did is going to be an action. Okay. Now, how about we get a couple of examples where we have some main and helping verbs, because that's really what we're going to be talking about this particular week. All right, here's our next sentence. Anne was cooking dinner in the kitchen. Again, first thing we want to do, 5th and 6th graders, is locate the subject. Who or what in the sentence are we talking about? We're talking about Anne. Anne is what we're talking about. Now, is Anne doing something in the sentence? Well, yeah, Anne is cooking. He's cooking. She's cooking something. But would I say Anne cooking? No, I don't think I'd say Anne cooking. It sounds to me like I might need something to help the word cooking. So in this sentence, the verb phrase is going to be was cooking. Was cooking is the verb. Now, which one of those is the helping verb? Which one's the main verb? Well, the helping verb should always come first, followed by the main verb. So in this sentence, the word was is the helping verb, and the main verb is cooking. So I could just simply say Anne was cooking, and that would make sense. If I took the word was out of there, Anne cooking, it sounds like it needs something to help it out. That's where the word was comes into play. The boys were playing in the park. Again, what's our subject? Who or what in this sentence are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the boys. The boys are what the subject is, the sentence is. Now, are the boys doing anything in the sentence? Well, yeah, the boys are playing. So would we say the boys playing? The boys playing. It sounds to me like I might need some sort of word to help it out. So it sounds to me like I might need this word were to help me out. So in this sentence here, the verb is going to be were playing. The boys were playing. And since it's multiple words, I'm going to ask which one's the helping verb and which one is the main verb. Okay, well, the helping verb should always come first. Were is the helping verb. And then the main verb is the word playing. So I could simply just say the boys were playing. Were playing is the verb phrase. Sarah is also competing in the track meet. Again, let's take a look. Where is the subject of the sentence? Who or what am I talking about in this particular sentence? I'm talking about Sarah. Sarah is my subject. Now, is Sarah doing something in this sentence? Is she doing some sort of action? And I hope you would say, yeah, she is. She's competing. So would I say Sarah competing? No, sounds to me like I need some sort of helping word to help me out. So what would be the helping verb? Well, the tricky part about this problem is the word also. The word also is actually not part of the verb phrase. This is actually called an adverb. We're going to study those a little bit later this year. And so if I were to ask you what is the verb phrase in the sentence, you should just say the words is competing. It's possible that sometimes you might have an adverb going in between the verb phrase, and that's okay. You just realize that that's an adverb. We're going to talk something more about that later on this year. But the verb phrase would just be the words is competing. Because again, if I took the word also out of the sentence, my sentence would be Sarah is competing in the track meet. So adverbs can be taken out. All right. So if I have is competing, which one's the helping verb and which one's the main verb? Okay, the word is would be my helping verb, is the helping verb, and the main verb is going to be the word competing, is competing. Here's one that I'm pretty sure you're going to see on one of your sheets for this week. So hopefully you're paying attention pretty well to this one. It's a pretty short sentence. Is she watching? With a question mark. Now, whenever you come across a question sentence, my suggestion, 5th and 6th graders, would be before you start trying to find the subject and all that other stuff, I would reword the sentence to change it from a question to a statement. So instead of saying, is she watching, how about we change it, switch these first two words around here. If I switch these first two words around, it's no longer a question, it's a statement. I would be saying, she is watching. So if that was my sentence, what's the subject? Well, the subject's going to be she. Is she doing something in this sentence? Well, yeah, Mr. Johnson, she's watching. She watching. But would I say she watching? It sounds to me like I need something to help that out. And I think that's where that word is comes into play. So if I asked you what is the verb of this particular sentence, we would say is watching. Is watching. And since it's a verb phrase, which one's my helping verb? Which one is my main verb? Okay, the word is the helping verb, and the word watching is the main verb. So like I said, be careful, 5th and 6th graders. I believe on the back side of your sheet for today, I think there's an example just like this, very similar to that on your sheet. Thomas will raise his hand. Okay, what's the subject of the sentence? The subject is Thomas. This is what we're talking about, Thomas. Is Thomas doing something in the sentence? Well, yeah, Thomas, he's going to raise. Thomas raise. Okay, so what I say, Thomas raise? Well, it sounds to me like he hasn't done it yet. And that's where this word will comes into play. So I think I'm going to put in here Thomas will raise. And so what's the verb of this sentence? Will raise. This is a future tense because it means it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen in the future. And every time you have a future tense, it's always going to be a verb phrase. Okay? So which one is the main verb? Which one's the helping verb? Okay, so the word will is your helping verb, and the word raise is the main verb. The teacher answered his question. What's the subject of the sentence? Well, the subject is teacher. I know that. Teacher is the subject. Is the teacher doing something in the sentence? Well, yeah, he's answered. The teacher answered. Sounds good to me. Doesn't sound like I need any type of helping verb in this sentence. So if I asked you what the verb of this sentence would be, hopefully we would say the word answered. And since there's no helping verbs out in front of it, it sounds like an action, then we'd say that the word answered is an action verb. Randy is studying for his grammar test. What's the subject of the sentence? The subject is Randy. We're talking about Randy in this sentence. Is Randy doing something in this particular sentence? Yeah, Randy studying. Studying is my action. But can I say Randy studying? Does that sound grammatically correct? Randy studying? No, it sounds like I might need something to help that phrase along. And I think that's where this word is comes into play. So if I were to ask you, what is the verb of the sentence? Hopefully you tell me that the verb is studying. And since this is a verb phrase, I'm going to ask, which one's the helping verb and which one is the main verb? All right, the word is the helping verb, and the word studying is the main verb. So you're noticing there was never any helping verbs whatsoever behind the main verb. The main verb would always be the last word of the verb phrase. I am thirsty after all that running. I am thirsty after all that running. Okay. Is there a subject in this sentence? Yes, there is. Who is the sentence talking about? Well, it's talking about I. I am the subject of the sentence. Now, is there some sort of action in the sentence? Now, you might be tempted to think that the word thirsty is an action, but think again, boys and girls, is the word thirsty an action or is it a describer? It's actually a describer. This word thirsty is describing I. And since this adjective is describing back to the word I, or we would say is linking back to the word I, that means then that the verb in the sentence is just the word am. And since it's linking a word back to the subject, we would say that is an example of a linking verb. We have learned a lot about verbs. We have learned a lot about verbs. Yes, we have. What's the subject of my sentence? Who or what am I talking about in the sentence? I'm talking about we. We are the subject. Is there something that we have done? Is there some sort of action in the sentence? We. Yeah, we learned. We learned. Does it sound like there might be some sort of helping verb in here? I think so. So if I ask you what is the main verb in this sentence, I hope you would say have learned. Have learned. Have learned is my verb phrase. So that means one of them is a helping verb, one of them is the main verb. Which one's which? Okay, the word have is my helping verb. Have is my helping verb, and then the word learned is the main verb. All right, boys and girls, now there are a lot of examples there. I hope it helped to clarify a little bit on the main and helping verbs. Your assignment is going to be on the online sheets that are there. So if you have any questions on any of the assignments for this particular week, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to me. May want to go back and look at this video at some of those examples to clarify. You'll probably see a couple of them that are very similar to that in your assignment. So I tried to throw a couple in there just to make sure you're watching the video. So I hope you guys do a good job with the video. If you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'm here to help you wherever I can. But with that, I will see you guys with the next video.